Maybe I have an unpopular opinion, but just because these fit into my fall category doesn't mean I explicitly use them in the fall. I was like, ooh, I don't know. Are you fall? Are you winter? Are you summer? Are you everything? The scent in the fall is literally of decay, right? So rich and beautiful and all the things that I wish I was. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Han, and today we are going through all of my fall decks. And I'm kind of chuckling right now because there are, I think, 14 or 15. It's so interesting. Fall is, I would say, one of my favorite seasons, but as you know, winter is kind of my most favorite season. Today we're having some fun. I'm just showcasing to you guys all of the decks in my collection that I categorize as fall decks. And because we have a lot to get through, I'm just gonna hop right in. The first one I'm going to start with, I was like, are you fall? Are you not fall? I don't really know. And I've come to the conclusion that it's psychedelic fall. So the deck I'm talking about is the Anthropologist Tarot. These are the fun and funky backs. This is a super affordable indie deck. I believe it's under $35, which is crazy. I believe you can still find it on Etsy. It has like a lot of color going on, but overall I feel like it has like depth to it and like a deepness that I really think goes well with fall. It's very gritty. It's very gritty and it has a lot of personality, but yeah, like the chariot here, this is kind of a little creepy, right? So it doesn't shy away from expression and just saying things like it is, especially with the some of the depictions. But yeah, I would say that this would be categorized as a fall deck. I would definitely use this during the fall time. I mean, like we have this, I know it's not a crow, but it's a crow-like looking bird. We've seen a skull, the creepy chariot, wherever he went. I just feel like this is a good fall deck. Again, the reason why it's like psychedelic fall is because it is quite colorful. But again, those like deep jewel tone colors, I think, I don't know, matches fall really, really well. Because fall, you guys, at least around where I live in the Northeast, gets so colorful and vibrant and beautiful, especially with the changing of the leaves. The next deck I have here is the Burning Tiger Tarot. The box does not scream fall, but a lot of the colors of the cards are in this, like they have a lot of browns, there's a lot of tree branches. It's very earthy. It's like November fall when the leaves have all fallen and they've kind of lost their color and they've turned more brown now. Yeah, and it feels antique. And I don't know, like if you've gone into an antique store, I have a few around me and there's one in particular that's like 2 stories. They are reusing like an old department store, and so it has 2 stories and it's full of all different booths and stuff like that. But as soon as like you open the doors, there's a specific smell that antique shops have, and this kind of reminds me of that. And like all the different treasures that you can find there, it also reminds me of that, just based on the type of collage it is. There's like hidden treasures in each picture, and so it feels very fall. The next deck is going to be no surprise, and that is Santa Muerte, one of my absolute favorite decks of all time. I love the art style. It gives off like a very 2000s computerized video game kind of feel, and I love that so much. There's a lot of reds throughout, but each suit does have its own color representation. Of course, Santa Muerte and Dia de los Muertos, the theme is there. Of course, I use this deck outside of fall, and I should have said that caveat in the beginning, but just because these fit into my fall category doesn't mean I explicitly use them in the fall. I know for some people that's how it works for them, but I am a mood reader, so if Santa Muerte is calling to me in the middle of hot summer, which she recently did, then I'm going to answer her call and I'm going to work with this deck. But overall, it's very fall-like, and I think it enhances the experience and the connection that we can feel toward our decks when we use them in ways where they match up to a season really well and aesthetically. I think it's beautiful that we're going to end here on Santa Muerte herself. The next deck I have here, I was like, ooh, I don't know, are you fall, are you winter, are you summer, are you everything? And that is Tarot de St. Croix. I haven't had a ton of time to use this deck just yet, but definitely will. It is newer to my collection this year. I mean, the backs are so fall. Like, you couldn't get more fall than this, especially with the orange and the black and the moody sky. But then we have, like, this is a card here, and I'm like, oh, we're in summer now. But overall, it has a moodiness and a darkness to the cards that I think really fits fall quite nicely. I would love to do a deep dive with this deck. You can still get the version with, I think it's borderless. I love orange. Orange is my favorite color, so when I came across an older copy that had the orange borders, I was all about it. Yeah, I just think that this is also like darker fall, like the November fall. It's not as vibrant anymore. People are starting to really go inward to their homes. All of the fall activities have wrapped up for the season. Now it's just time to hunker down and really get prepared for winter. This deck is very cultural, and I really like that about it. And yeah, I just feel like almost like pumpkin spicy, right? With the orange, all the orange going on. I think next I have, is this my first oracle? I think so. The Arcana Folia. This was a Kickstarter and totally fall. Just look at these backs and the deep greens. It's also edged in a matte green. Just the way that this is laid out is like very fall, very perfect. And I think that if you backed the Secret Garden Tarot on Kickstarter, this is going to match really, really, really well. I think it'll be a great pair. But yeah, I love this little deck. I like that it's round. I love that the backgrounds of the cards are also that like deep green. I love the flora and the fauna. It just gives a very earthy vibe, very slumberish in a way. But yeah, the Arcana Folia, my first oracle in the fall category. The next deck I have is the Home Oracle, and this is an out of print deck, so I do apologize, but just based on the backs alone, I feel like this is a really nice fall. The messages in the guidebook is very introspective, so that really, I don't know why, but the style of guidebook that it is feels very fall. You might say, Han, this looks kind of more springtime, and you know, I could see that for sure, especially this one right here and all the detailed fauna in these cards. But something about the yellows and some of the browns, like this card is pretty fall, and the mushrooms here and this rabbit just speaks fall to my heart. And again, the guidebook, it's like very short and sweet but potent, and one that you don't just gloss over. It kind of, it's so poetic that it like sticks in your brain. And I think why I associate that with fall is because you linger there, and it's like a really good book that you keep thinking about over and over and over. Yeah, it just stays in your brain for a while. And that's the Home Oracle. Also, can we just talk about the cassette style box? I really like it. Next, I have the Fantasy Garden Tarot. Love the backs. The browns and the textures of this deck I really think leans fall. It's like, I don't know, the art reminds me of, especially this cover photo here, it's like windswept, and it just feels like a fall breeze that just is so luscious with scent, the scent of leaves and earth, but in such a different way than it smells in the spring. The spring is like renewing, re-emerging, and the scent in the fall is literally of decay, right? Things are going into hibernation, cycles are ending, but it smells so good. Almost maybe like a September fall. We have those few weeks in September that suddenly emerge and remind us of the heat from summer, but the nights are not like summer at all. They're very cool. And even by a fire, you need your hoodie or your sweatshirt. So very windswept September fall day is what the Fantasy Garden Tarot reminds me of. Okay, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say the Fountain Tarot. The Fountain Tarot is, I think, like a November fall to me. And thank you, deck, for picking out like the hues that I'm talking about, these deeper hues, and how the images are very, sometimes they can be pretty obscure because of how they're layered. I don't know, that just reminds me of fall. Maybe like just entering October fall, maybe. That liminal space of transition. I think that's a good way to describe it, where it's not so linear, right? The weather goes up and down, takes us along for a ride. Do we put away our summer clothes for a while, or do we keep keep it out for another couple weeks because it might spike up one last time again, like I mentioned with Fantasy Garden. Yeah, I don't know. That's just the vibe that Fountain Tarot gives me. Transition and the difficulties that transition can bring, that liminal space between things. It's not summer anymore, but it's not winter yet, and the difficulties that can come from that, or the challenges, I'll say. Yeah, that's the Fountain Tarot. One of my favorite decks. If you've been tuned into my channel for any amount of time, you'll know my thoughts about this deck, how I think it's severely misunderstood and underrated, but I love it so much. Next, I have Glyph Sacred Symbol Oracle. Now, I wasn't sure entirely if this should be fall or winter, but I settled on fall. And hear me out, fall is right up until December 20th, 21st, somewhere around there. So for me, it's those last few weeks of technical fall that lands in December. That's what this reminds me of. And I think it could also, you know, be a winter deck, but I don't know. I think the reason also I'm putting this in fall is because it reminds me of studying, studiousness, going back to school, because it's about ancient symbols and history and yeah, just that like dark academia. There we go, like dark academia. It just reminds me of that. Like there's, oh man, there's no other feeling than that back to school feeling because it's the fall time. That's what makes me miss being a student so much, is I don't get to go back to school anymore. I mean, I get to relive it now through my daughter, but just that feeling of you got your new backpack, your school supplies, which that was my most favorite part of school shopping. Like I didn't care about the clothes part, but the school supplies, I was all about it. Got me so excited. Anyway, that's just what this like brings me to. This is also a deck that you have seen me use outside of the fall time, so I just wanted to again note that I do use all my decks at all points of times throughout the year. Okay, moving forward, we have Enchanted Map. I think you can see, based on the colors from the cover, that it's very rich with browns and yellows and earthiness, and just like depicted here, like that old crinkly map. It feels very fall to me. I will say that this deck is very versatile and it goes with so many decks. Super fall here. And so, you know, definitely a reason why I reach for this anytime, any season. I mean, I could also see it being kind of like a spring deck. There's like a lot of water depicted, but maybe it's just a good match for those transition seasons. I think what brings me back to fall are cards just like this here, Unexpected Visitors and Education, or it's like dimmer lighting, deeper browns. I don't know, it just, love this home card, Goblins. Yeah, just really nice for fall. Next, I have probably my most quintessentially fall deck. That is Folkloric Forest Tarot by Lennox Reese. I love this deck a lot. I am so excited to use this deck. I know I have told you that like I don't like seasonality doesn't matter. Not that it doesn't matter, because it does. I'm actually trying to be more seasonal in my life. Found myself wishing away chunks of time because I don't like summer. I don't like the heat. I don't like to be sweaty. I love winter. I like fall. I like cooler months. I didn't want to wish away time anymore. Life is so fleeting that it's just so goofy. Even if it's kind of more innocent, like, oh, can't wait till fall, and you know, people starting countdowns in spring. Only, I don't know, 200 days till fall, and I'm like, I just want to learn to be more present and in the moment and respectful of the season in which I'm at, not only in the year but in my life. I'm trying to be more mindful in that way, and what that has brought forward is I'm finding myself considering decks that will line up more with each season than I ever have before. Of course, I still use them outside of that season, and I always will. That will never change. I just feel it in my gut. But I'm really excited, especially with this deck. Like, this deck kind of was the catalyst for all of that, because I got this very beginning of the summer and I was like, I just want to use it right now, but I know that it would go so well in the fall. And I did use it here and there, but just the atmosphere, the pure atmosphere of this art. This deck is very surreal cerebral. It makes you think. Doesn't just give you free answers. You kind of have to work for it. But I am just really stoked to be able to use this deck in that fall time where it so clearly lives. Like, this deck lives there, and I'm excited to meet it there, if that at all makes any sense. Also, the backs. I love this so much. Moving forward to another, like, I would put as a November deck, we have the good old Serpent and the Peacock. I love this deck so much. And it's been a while since I've used it, like in a reading. I've featured it on my channel in other videos before, but I haven't picked it up and read with it in a long time, and I would love to do that. So this is all medieval art, and I think for that fact alone, automatic fall. Like, you can't, this can't be in any other season or categorized in any other season. I mean, you can try and argue with me, but it's just, you're not going to convince me that it's meant for or represents any other season than fall, just because it's medieval art. It's so quirky and funny, and I don't know, this one throws some truth at you at the same time. Like, it's not afraid to joke with you, but when it needs to tell you the truth, it will. I adore this deck, and I'm so happy to have it in my collection. Next, I have the Codex Divinatio, and the Oracle of Da Vinci is this one. I love. I wasn't so sure about this deck at first when I originally got it, but I have since paired it with a number of tarot, and it's great. I love it. I've changed my tune. But again, this is it's just too perfect of a fall deck. I even love how the artist added in like the tattoos to, you know, classical art here. I love that it's been doctored up a little bit. It brings it into a more modern lens a little bit, which I'm not mad at. But it's just great. It definitely has like a shadowier side, not only in the art, but the guidebook, which this is the French edition. However, when you Google translate this, it goes deep. It is not afraid to say what it needs to say, and I admire that about it, you know. Yeah, it makes me think a lot, this deck and the guidebook. So it's not one that is just surface level beautiful. It really goes deep in there, and it makes you think, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's calling me out right now. And it does, it calls you out, but it doesn't ditch you. It doesn't abandon you. It kind of holds your hand just a little bit in the guidebook. All right, so we've made it down to our final 4 decks here. If you have made it this far, leave a sunshine emoji. I know it doesn't match the fall theme, but I thought that might be too obvious. So leave the sunshine emoji down below if you've made it this far. And the next deck I have is the Sasrabido Tarot. I actually think that this is a good all year round, very like seasonally appropriate for all the seasons deck. But again, it just has this like academia quality to it. Like, this Page of Wands, she's ready to learn, she's ready. Page of Cups here, the same thing, just eager and ready to study, ready to take in all the information. Is very emotive and has its own voice. I love the art style, super emotive. Now, I don't know when this deck originally came out because I believe it was a Kickstarter first, but that was for my time. I did order my first copy of this deck on Etsy from Stasia's page, and it still had the glossy cardstock, which I believe is the like original first, I don't know what you call it, it's not first edition, but the first few print runs had this glossy cardstock, so it still fit into that era of the deck. Yeah, but you can still get it today. I think it's going to be on that matte cardstock that I've seen. But I just find that the gloss makes the colors pop a lot more than the matte. The matte kind of gives it, I don't know, I think both are gorgeous and have their own strengths and weaknesses. This deck, I think what I'm coming to the conclusion to as to why I put it in fall, reminds me of being a student, because I was a student with this deck, you know, and it just brings me back to that time in my life where tarot was ultra brand new and I literally knew nothing. I think with tarot, you will never know everything. And I think that's a quality of tarot that people, why they're so drawn to it, because it's endless, it's bottomless. But I didn't necessarily come to understand that just yet when I first started my journey. So this has a very special time and place quality to it that aligns really well with the fall for me. Next is the Beauty of Bones Tarot. Now, I fought with myself on whether this was winter or fall, and I think it definitely is both, but it reminds me of Santa Muerte and Samhain, and like this is Samhain, the day of Samhain. So for that reason, I did choose to put it in my fall decks. But again, I think it could go in winter, but I don't know. I just think it's perfect for fall, Samhain season specifically. I think it's unique. I love that it's photography based and it's this anatomical skull and skeleton, rather, I guess. I don't know. I love the different colored borders. It's very aesthetic for fall, so that is why I chose it. And it has this rose gold gilding and beautifully black embossed, but the fronts are matte, so it's like the best of both for those who don't like shiny glossy cardstock, but it's just limited to the backs. Okay, second to last here we have Owego. I love this deck so much. When I think of working with ancestors, like really digging deep, diving in, I think of fall time. I don't know why. I love the collage of this deck. Again, I use this outside of fall, so, you know, don't take this list as like a stamp, signed, sealed, permanent thing. I mean, this is a great example of a nice fall card. I think this is maybe a little bit more summery. Yeah, when I think of working with ancestors, I think of fall time. While Olga is an ancestor herself, and the theme of this deck is ancestry, I think you can use it outside of that realm, but it's just so rich, and I'm excited to work with this deck again a little bit deeper. When I first got it, I did a mini deep dive with it. I just wanted to honor it and bring it into my collection in that way that I did. If you want to know more about what I did, what I focused on, I do have a Substack article that I wrote about it featuring this deck, which I will leave linked below. But yeah, Olga is a beautifully fall deck. And especially these beautiful backs, like ritual, right? Calling upon our ancestors, dressing our altars. Beautiful. I have the Northern Animal Tarot. Again, I had to think about this one because I use it all the time. So I was like, where do you want to be? But with the acorns and the leaf and the dark. So I don't know what edition this is. I backed this on Kickstarter, but it was for the 3rd edition with backs that have it's green, like a light green, and it has like the fox on it, I think. So you had an option to add, I think, a 1st or 2nd edition, which has these backs. So I did that and then rehomed the 3rd edition one. I have edged and trimmed mine. Is a linen cardstock. It's very flexible. Like, this is one of the most... The only way I can showcase it is by riffling it, but it's one of the most flexible decks that I have, and it's clumpy in my riffle because I have trimmed it, and the edges are all a little bit different now. I think that the animals featured, foxes and wolves, and there's a turtle, a crow. I don't know, they're just beautiful. Remind me of fall. I don't know. This does have winter scenes in it. I don't know. This just feels like a cool fall breeze. I love this deck. I believe this is the deck that you all voted for me to work with in July, and I had a blast. It was a great time. So, me being more seasonally attuned now, and the fact that I have, 14 decks here? 13, 14, 15, somewhere in there, I lost count. How do I even manage to work with the ones like Folkloric Forest? Definitely, that's like I'm working with in the fall, and that one's like set in stone for me. But all of these other ones, I'm like, how do I fit you in? Or what if Folkloric Forest like scratches that itch for me, and then I want to work with Zeke's Arcana or something? You know. I wish that I had ample time to work with each of these in this season of fall. But again, not married to that only. I will work with them outside of fall. Hi everyone, editing me coming on real quickly. I have one more deck that I would like to slide into this video, and I wouldn't have done this except for, I think it ranks among the highest next to Folkloric Forest Tarot of being my most fall deck now. And I just got this deck in after I recorded the video, so I wanted to include it here because I think it matters, and you'll probably be seeing me using it. So, and that is the Hush Tarot. I just feel like the atmosphere, the different colors, as well as many of the cards, it's almost like they're in a grassy field. So there's a lot of blades of grass and there's a lot of flora and fauna, but the overall like watercolor tone of the browns and the sepias and the pinks. Yeah, and I was doing a color study, which I did post on my Instagram, so some of the colors are still clumped together here, but just the tone of the colors speak autumnal to me. Not only that, but the energy and the vibe, it's very macabre quality to it, almost like antique-y in a way, or photographs that have been sitting in your grandparents' attic and you come across them and you can almost smell the dusty, damp, dank quality a little bit of the cards. It's very beautiful, but it's gritty and it's very much rooted in nature and cycles of nature and death and rebirth. And the artist uses a lot of masks and a lot of skull, a lot of birds in here. And he also does explain that the ratio of animal to human is scaled down much smaller. Now that I say that, I'm gonna have trouble finding a really good example. Oh, here's a perfect example. There's cards like this one where the human is much smaller than the animal, and this is just a kitten, so they're almost like, they're just like mini people. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids kind of a little bit, but it has a lot of like mystical qualities. It's almost uncomfortable a little bit in a couple of the cards, so it's not afraid to kind of go and dive in deep. And this to me speaks like the November fall, when the scent of the leaves and the earth changes from aromatic to it kind of smells more mulchy and damp, and it's really dark out. The leaves have lost all their color. Yeah, it speaks to that kind of fall to me, and I am so excited to have this deck in my collection now. I wanted it for a long time, and I just knew that I needed to do some more work in my practice learning tarot to fully be able to appreciate this deck, because it goes its own way. And going in deep into the darker half of the year, I feel like that's like a theme. Just things kind of just go their own way. You can't force them. We're here now, like winter is knocking at our doors and you can't stop it, so you might as well sit with it and be with it, kind of a vibe. So yes, that is the Hush Tarot, and I just needed to include it on my fall deck list because just too perfect of a deck for fall. Thank you all so much for being here, for dealing with my antics. This was a lot of fun to put together, even when I kind of second guessed it. I feel like I kind of came to a good reason as to why. Now I have the tough job of selecting which ones I work with throughout the fall season. So we'll see. We'll see. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much again for being here. And until next time, see you around.